going into a rebuild, going through a rebuild, can be the hardest thing for a fan base and for the team itself. And while we all look back and we go, Pittsburgh and Chicago, they did theirs right, there were times during Pittsburgh and Chicago's rebuilds where things didn't look quite so bright and sunshiny. And so, with this week, seeing a Buffalo Sabre fan call into a call-in show and snap. And here's the thing that I like. So the guy snaps. He's not swearing and yelling, and he's not bringing up points that aren't important. So the idea that it's trending and we are all Dwayne is something that Sabres fans are uniting around. I get it. Now this is their 50th year, and they got these really great gold gold trim jerseys with the gold and the logo, and there's a lot of things to be happy about, but there are things with Buffalo. There is the divorce the team had with Pat LaFontaine. There is, and I loved when he said that the team had its alumni wearing knockoff jerseys, which I assume means fanatics, right? And it is jarring where you will see a lot of teams have players come out. For instance, the Canucks for their theme nights, they have former players come out wearing 70s, 80s, 90s themed jerseys. Now the 90s is the skate that everybody loves so much. The 80s, of course, is the Flying V, but they're all Adidas. And I don't have a Flying V Adidas, but Vancouver Canucks, if you're watching this, hit a boy up. All right, but that being said, Buffalo does have a problem right now. And this isn't just, oh well, maybe next year, because we're getting into that area where it's been too long. The Florida Panthers went the longest. And they're not alone. From 1999-2000, so 2000 was the last time they were in the playoffs, until 2011-2012 when they made it again. That is 10 seasons. Now remember, there is a lockout, wiped out season in there as well, so it's more than 10 years, and it was a long time. And when you talk about Florida and their attendance, I do think that's part of it. I think it's the fact this team very rarely, if ever, makes the playoffs. And if they can make the playoffs and go a little bit of a run, you'll see attendance go up in Florida. The Oilers, 2005-2006 was their year. Of course, they went to the Stanley Cup final before getting knocked out by the Carolina Hurricanes. They didn't go back to the playoffs till 2016-2017, which covered 10 seasons. But the interesting thing with the Oilers, too, is it's similar to what we're seeing in Buffalo. So 2016-2017, the Oilers finally get to the playoffs, and there were Oiler fans who were ready to just flip when this team was struggling during those 10 years. But it's kind of felt like it's been worse since 2016-2017 when they made the 2017 playoffs, got out of the first round. It has actually felt worse because this was a team that was on its way up and then they fell right back down again. So for the Oilers, it's been frustrating, and now it looks like this year they may finally get back into the playoffs for only the second time since they went to the finals in 2006. And here's to hoping it does happen, because long-suffering fans get that name through droughts like this, but it's not fun to watch. Carolina, between 2008-2009, 2018-2019, there are 9 seasons that this team did not make the playoffs. So, with them sitting below the playoff line as I speak right now, it has to make some Carolina fans nervous. Like, no, we don't actually want to fall back. And it's one of the reasons why I took Carolina falling back out of the playoffs at the start of the year, because I looked at it and I said, they've fallen out of the playoffs when I didn't expect it before. I'm going to take the easy route and pick them to fall out of the playoffs again. They won the Stanley Cup in 2006. Pretty sure they missed the playoffs in 2007. This is a team that's really hard to track, and sustained success for Carolina, for whatever reason, has been elusive. Although they do have the young core that may finally be able to do that on a regular basis for them. Now, also at 9 seasons is the New Jersey Devils, although they were the Colorado Rockies when they made the playoffs in 1978. They would make the playoffs again in 1988 as the New Jersey Devils. That is 9 seasons. And during those 9 years, that's where Mickey Mouse called it a Mickey Mouse. Wayne Gretzky called it a Mickey Mouse organization. I say Mickey Mouse twice because I met Mickey Mouse. So yeah. I don't like to brag, but I've met all the Mouse family. So, for the New Jersey Devils, they were a poorly run organization for a very long time. And then Sean Burke came along and they got to the playoffs, and then they would fall out again. So they fell out again. Now, what Buffalo needs to do to turn this around isn't just make the playoffs once. It's showing that they're building towards sustained success. The Cleveland Barons folded, merged with the Minnesota North Stars. The California Golden Seals made the playoffs in 1970 and then never made the playoffs again. It was just a giant nope. And that was 8 years before the NHL pulled the plug on the Barons. There was no attendance, and this was a team that was dying. There was nowhere else to send them, so they just merged them with the Minnesota North Stars. And even as a merged team, you would think that would make the North Stars a juggernaut. It didn't. It really didn't. So it didn't have the benefit to the Minnesota North Stars one might expect. It's simply not right out of the gate. Minnesota became an excellent team in the early 80s, but it wasn't a Cleveland Barons influenced run for the most part. It helped, but really it was some good management by the Minnesota North Stars. The Boston Bruins went 8 seasons without the playoffs between 1959 and 1968. And during that original 6 era, there was a time where they were pretty bad. And then they had this guy named Orr, they had this guy named Esposito. They would have Jerry Cheevers in net, and suddenly things got better for the Boston Bruins. They would win a Stanley Cup not long after that. So we're down to this level of the board, and this is where you can finally find one that you say, you know what? That's a team that if Buffalo can emulate them, they should. Not like you have a choice, right? Because here, merged, here, they wouldn't win a Stanley Cup until 95. So it took quite a while after this. And the Carolina Hurricanes, on and off, they won the Cup in 06. Since this drought, they obviously haven't, because we're still waiting on another Cup run for them. The Oilers, it's been since 1990 for them with the Stanley Cup. And Florida got in the Stanley Cup Finals in 96. Hasn't won around since. So Boston's the first one we see on this board that you can say, yep, that's where Buffalo should be looking to emulate, if that's possible. So if they can find their Bobby Orr, is it Dahlin? That's a lot to put on Dahlin, isn't it? I don't think he's going to be compared to Bobby Orr. But anyways, Washington Capitals are next on the list. 1974-75 is an expansion team. Historically bad. 8 wins bad for an entire season. Ouch. And then 82-83, they finally get in. 8 years. 8 years they were in existence before they made the playoffs. This is in an era where 16 out of 21 teams make the playoffs. A lot of this. This one here, when 16 out of 21 teams make the playoffs. This one here, I'm trying to think, I think it was 12. That was when you had a bye round. I think it was 12 out of 18 made the playoffs. So it has been more difficult for Carolina, Edmonton, and Florida by design. Where if your team isn't all that great, they won't make the playoffs. Back in the 80s, early 90s, you could have teams that weren't very good that still made the playoffs. So for the Capitals to go 8 years out of expansion without making the playoffs was really, truly, well, kind of terrifying. And then they made the Langway deal, and that turned them around. So where we're at, I put 2 of the active droughts. The only active droughts that may threaten this record. It's not a record you want to reach. Right now, the Buffalo Sabres haven't been in the playoffs since 2011. It's 8 seasons right now they've gone without playoffs. Could very well be 9. You get to 9, you're in this territory. Where you've got Carolina and you've got New Jersey. You've got a team here that moved in the middle of it. And you've got a team here that there were talks of moving them. Mostly from fans, never from the National Hockey League, because fans at some point will tune out. Fans of Buffalo are fed up. Fans of Buffalo have never stopped coming out. They've never stopped supporting the team. Right now, they feel that the owners are more concerned with making money for themselves, that they're not concerned about the fans, and that's where it gets tricky. That's where it gets scary if you're the ownership group and you're paying any attention. Because when you've got fans saying they don't care about us, they just want our money and they don't care about the team on the ice, they will start letting you know by not buying tickets. And when you've got Dwayne calling in, and again, I will link that in the description below this video, saying I'm considering not renewing my tickets for the first time, and I think he said it was 15 years he's been a season ticket holder. The Buffalo Sabres have to take this seriously. If I was Buffalo Sabres PR, I'm reaching out for trying to find out who this guy is. I'm going through my season ticket list and trying to figure out who this guy is. And I'm sitting him down. I don't care if I got to sit him down with Terry Pegula himself. The Buffalo Sabres should be done the rebuild right now. And this is where when I see people saying, well, the Sabres are rebuilding. No. No. They should not be rebuilding. They should be done the rebuild because it's been long enough. A decade isn't a rebuild. That's just complete and total mediocrity. It's almost a commitment to mediocrity, even in a league now where half the teams miss the playoffs. To stay that bad for that long. And it's not that Buffalo's been close, and that's where I also understand the frustration. You can go through almost any of these teams' runs and find years they were close and barely missed. And with Buffalo, that gets harder and harder to find than probably almost any team on this board. They haven't had great runs down the stretch. They've had great starts to the season, both this year and last year. That makes it worse. Because that gives fans the idea of, hey, we're finally over that hump, and never mind, we just got kicked right back down the mountain. And as a Vancouver fan, I get it. I'm kind of surprised Vancouver's not on the board. But again, during the 80s, you could have some bad teams, especially in the Smythe division, and make the playoffs. And that's what the Canucks did. They had seasons of 59 points, 64 points, 66 points. They were awful. But in their division, 4 out of 5 teams made the playoffs, and that meant there were going to be some bad teams in the playoffs because you had Edmonton, you had Calgary, and you had everybody else. So when you talk about weak divisions, you say, this team's pretty good, but they got a weak division. Look no further than the 80s Oilers for a team that played in a pretty bad division. They had one good team in it for stretches there, and the Kings were miserable, the Jets were miserable, and the Canucks were miserable. Buffalo can't afford to be miserable much longer because should they miss the playoffs, that does become 9, and then they're 1 year away from tying the record. And I don't know how you fix it. Because I still look at Buffalo and I say their goaltending, Ullmark's good. Can go with Ullmark. I'm not a huge believer that Carter Hutton can be a starting goaltender. And their defense. Somehow, even with all of the changes in the offseason, their defense still looks suspect. And then when you look at their forward group, you can say, Eichel is absolutely amazing. Olofsson's been a revelation as a rookie for them. Reinhardt's developing very, very well. There are some other really good stories there among the forward group, but scoring depth is a problem. So there isn't any one part of the Buffalo Sabres I look at right now and I say, that's good. They're set. So I agree with Dwayne. This is a team that it's become absolutely awful. And it is worse. It is worse when a team has a good start and then it just slowly falls away. If they had been 2-9 to start the season and then won some games towards the end of the year, you can at least sort of say to yourself, well, there's hope for next year, I guess. We're getting closer. And for Buffalo, it doesn't feel like they are. It just feels like this team's treading water. And then the ultimate public nightmare would be Jack Eichel coming out and saying, I don't know. I don't know if I want to stay here. It's been 4 years for me, and I don't know that it's necessarily getting better. I don't know that I trust management. I don't know that I trust that they know how to fix this. Because again, the rebuilds should be over. Rebuilds should take 4, maybe 5 years. Once you get into 9, it's just really poor management. It is. It's poor management. In some cases, there's some bad luck along the way as well. But rebuilds shouldn't take that long. A retool, you're looking at 1 or 2 years. Rebuild should be about 4. 4, maybe 5. But once you get up to 8, 9, 10, yeah, that's a problem. And it may be a free agent problem. It may be a drafting problem. It could be trading. That's the problem. Or it could be a mix of all three. And then for the Coyotes, who are 1 season behind Buffalo, haven't made the playoffs since 2012. They went out and got Taylor Hall, and their record has been iffy since then. And now we're looking at the potential for the Arizona Coyotes to fall out of the playoffs as well. All it takes is a few more wins in a row for the Nashville Predators, a loss or two by Arizona in there, and suddenly they find themselves out of the playoffs. We may be having this discussion about Arizona as well. The difference between Arizona and Buffalo is the amount of hardcore fans for the Buffalo Sabres is much higher than the amount of hardcore fans for the Arizona Coyotes. And I don't think I'm stepping on anybody's toes by saying that. This is a 50-year franchise in Buffalo that has been supported through thick and thin, mostly thin. We can see that right here. And I think they're kind of fed up. And I understand why they're fed up. I don't disagree with them being fed up. I know I would be as well. And you know, the Canucks, it's only been 4 seasons. If they don't make the playoffs this year, if they fall out, it'll only be 5. This is 8 turning into 9. And the record is 10. Buffalo needs the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think. And I'm saying they need the playoffs because I think their fans desperately need a playoff home date. They need games 3 and 4, potentially a game 6, something to give them hope for the future. Not that the Oilers don't. Only having made the playoffs once since 2006, there's a lot of pressure there as well. But things seem to be building in Buffalo right now. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, and whether or not you agree. And again, I would encourage you guys to listen to the call because he's not crazy. And while he does lose his temper and he gets mad and he starts yelling about it, I can't say I disagree. And I don't think it was out of control. And I don't think it was planned. I think this was just somebody who's got a lot of frustration over the team and over the direction of the team and what's going on with the team. And he's been holding this in, and it all came out when they asked him, what's on your mind today? You know, when you're having a rough day and somebody's like, how are you today? Oh, I'll tell you how I am. And then immediately they're thinking, I made a mistake with my life. I shouldn't have asked that question. Can I go back 10 minutes and not have seen you at all? Sometimes don't ask the question if you don't want the answer. Let me know your thoughts, as always, in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support, and I will talk to you again soon.